Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone. A couple quick announcements. Please silence your cell phones. Remember to provide your name and media affiliation each time you ask a question. We'll start in the room, and then we'll get to the folks on Zoom if there's time. And remember, recording press conferences on cell phones or cameras is prohibited. We'll start off with an opening statement from Coach Banghart.
Well, we're certainly grateful to be in this position. You know, Carolina's put on they put on a good crowd today for us. You know, that's why you earn hosting. I asked these guys after, did they take that moment in about how many people have really gotten behind this team? That's the benefit of the work you put in. So that was really fun. You know, it was a little rusty coming off of 2 weeks without a game, but we really got to find our rhythm and showed the progress we've made in the second half with better on both ends, quite honestly, being crisper, moving it better, shooting it with better pace and rhythm. And then, you know, Alyssa, what do you say about a kid that just set the rebound record at a school and a program that is as rich in tradition as this one? It's hard to come to a place like this and do something that hasn't been done before, right? Or be number one, and couldn't happen to a more deserving kid. Really, it means a lot to her, as it should. And I'm super proud that I get to be the one that coached her, the one who has now the rebound record at the University of North Carolina. So great win, great team that we had to beat. That's kind of the case in March, and we're moving on, which is really exciting.
We will start with questions strictly for the student athletes. We have Lexi, Donarski, and Alyssa Ustby. Go ahead, we'll start down front.
Hi, Lexi, Doug Bonjour, Associated Press. Just curious, what fueled your third quarter shooting surge?
I think it was really the defensive intensity that we came out with. We pressured them and were able to turn them over. I feel like over half of our steals that we had in this game had to have come from that third quarter, just pushing pace offensively through our defense. The majority of those looks were in transition.
Down here to the left.
James Moore, Fayetteville Observer. Alyssa, can you kind of go through your emotions at that moment when you broke the record? How were you feeling, and what did it take for you to get to this moment?
Well, I think it's taken a lot of perseverance to get to this moment, because that's not a goal that I set out to reach right when I got on campus. I just trusted that if I did the right things under Coach Banghart and then those things would come. And so I never really had to worry about it. I just had to keep playing true to myself, and rebounding is like a skill that I've developed over the course of my career here. And so that kind of is just like the icing on the cake. But in that moment, it was just really cool to see a lot of people just cheering and kind of being in that moment with me. But ultimately, I was focused on making sure we came out with a win, even though we were up quite a bit at that point. So my focus was really on Oregon State, but I was really trying to take in the moment and look around a little bit at the 5,000 fans that we had here today.
Hey, Alyssa, Ariel Bonham, Troy Hill Tribune. Can you talk about your versatility? In about half of the first half, you were playing the 5 spot, giving up 4 or 5 inches, and that had to have been a challenge, but you got through it okay.
It was actually a really exciting challenge. When I saw that I was getting pushed to the 5, I was like, yes. I was like, I want to bump around with girls that are much taller than me. And I just stuck to what I knew my strengths were, which is just rooting out my post player as long as I could and just keeping her from moving. So literally just kind of arm battling with her. And she eventually, both of them got pretty fatigued and just didn't even want to try posting up anymore, and that plays in my strength. So I was really excited to do it.
Mitch Northam, SB Nation. Okay, you can hear me? Okay, great. And now it's working again. You've now done 2 things at this program that nobody else has done. You've grabbed more rebounds than anyone else. You have the only triple-double in program history. I guess just like Coach Banghart said, considering how much history and how many good players have come through this program, does that kind of help put it in perspective to you, your impact that you've had here in 5 years?
I think I've still had a hard time kind of absorbing that and kind of taking that zoomed out perspective. But again, I know what I came here to do, which is to give my college career my all and try to make an impact. And I just want to be a part of a team that makes it really far in March and wins a championship. And so that's what we're set to do, and our sights are set on that. But I think maybe further down the road, I'll zoom out and appreciate that a little bit more.
Back down front here.
James Moore with the Fayetteville Observer. Lexi, you had a 17-point third quarter out of 30 points. Have you ever shot that well? I mean, you look like you were in practice. Have you ever shot that well, even just in high school or rec ball or AAU?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that's a question we can ask Matt, but I would assume that's the most threes I've made in a quarter, but I don't know. I feel like I had said earlier, our defense just pushed us forward. Like, we scored 30 points in that quarter alone, and it was all because we turned them over. We forced them to play faster than we wanted. We got them trapped in situations that they didn't want to be in. So I feel like we came out with a different mentality in that third quarter, and that just really pushed us forward.
Lindsay Gibbs with Power Plays. Lexi, I was wondering if you could speak to what Alyssa means to the team. We talk a lot about her legacy, and coaches talked a lot about her, but I'm wondering as a teammate, what does she mean, and what does it mean to see her get her moment that she didn't get on senior night and get the rebounding record?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, for us to be hosting, Alyssa's the first person that comes to mind. Mr. Senior Night, we all wanted her to have another chance to play at Carmichael. She's just given so much to this team and this program, and for her to be able to play in Carmichael again, it means a lot to all of us, as I'm sure it does to her. But to be able to share that moment with her after we all knew that she broke that record was really special. We all knew it happened, and thankfully someone had Tyler's shoe, so it stopped the game, but it was a lot of fun to be able to celebrate her in that moment because she just brings so much to this team. Her competitiveness, her willingness to fight on both ends of the floor, obviously her rebounding. So yeah, we're really happy to have her.
I'm wondering, you guys have had both have had so much experience over the past few years. What do you think this game means for the freshmen and the younger players on the team?
Alyssa, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think a part of the obligation of the starting five is to start the game off really well, not only for fighting to get a win, but making sure that we can get our entire roster in the game to get them experience, because they're going to be called on at we don't know when in tight games and situations. And so the more experience that we can get everybody, the better. I mean, Jordan Zubich came in and gave some really crucial minutes, was moving the ball well, contributed on defense, and obviously got a big bucket. So just expanding and showing our depth is just really important, and we're able to do that in this game.
Anything to add, Lexi?
Say that we have a lot of people that are willing to bring their piece. So similar to what Alyssa was saying, those freshmen and those younger players being willing to step in, not being shy of the moment, and just doing what they need to do to help us.
Alyssa, how important is your legacy? I believe you said that you knew how many rebounds you needed at the beginning of the season, and you've been counting them down. So this is something that's been in your mind all season. How important is the legacy for you?
I think the most important thing for me is to contribute to something larger than myself, so i.e. our team and this program, and to inspire people in the stands, specifically young girls that look up to me and the rest of our team. I just want to make sure that it's not only important what I do, but it's how I do it. And so just consistently coming in and getting rebounds, which is a part of my job as a forward, is making sure I get rebounds on both ends of the floor because that helps our team win. That's what's most important to me, for sure.
Anything else in the room? Thank you, ladies. Congratulations. We'll see about that.
I can add to that, given Alyssa, my son, wanted to see me before the game. I haven't seen him. So I gave him a hug, and he said, "Hey, Mom, if we lose, can I hug Alyssa on the court?" I said, "We're not going to talk about that right now."
With the Daily Tar Heel, obviously we talk about the record and everything, but it's rebounding that she's really built her career on. What does that say about her character, that it's just such a gritty position to rebound, offensive rebounding, things that she's done, the little things that she's built her career on?
I think the big thing is toughness is a skill. I think so many people think that toughness is just we can make everybody tough. It's it's a skill at an elite level. And her toughness has been a hallmark of our program, and it's why she's so adored. Rebounding is a toughness stat, especially at 6'2", right, guarding a 6'7" kid today. On both ends, she's had key rebounds. I can think of countless games where her rebounding impacted our winning. And so, it's just that her skill of toughness shouldn't be overlooked. And I know in our home base, it's not, right? There are certain people that have certain other skills that are elite. Hers is toughness. And, to have a kid that has that as their superpower on our team is why we're sitting up here hosting in March.
Mitch North of SB Nation. Coach, I think a lot was made about, Oregon State having a pretty big front line.
Yeah.
And you outscored them in the paint 40-16. Didn't seem to have a problem there. Was it just toughness, or was it a little bit more than that?
Like when we played Kentucky, people that have great size, we always say you want big guys to have, don't let tall kids stand and be tall, right? We want them to move. So when we wanted to try to hold our press as long as possible so they couldn't necessarily use halftime to critique it, and being able to come out and force turnovers, those of course count as paint scores in transition, but we were able to spread them out just enough to get some 1v1 for Maria in the paint. But, we didn't want them to just load to the ball and let you and be tall. So I think we were able to move them a bit, which gave us some paint advantages.
Yeah, in the second quarter, when Maria went to the bench with the 2 fouls, instead of going to Blocker Sierra, you went to Alyssa for the 5. What went into that decision, and how did that play out?
They were really small outside of that one kid. And so we wanted to make sure that we had a little bit more movement on the offensive end and not letting them kind of be tall, right? So when they went to their double big lineup, it meant that Reese had to come out and guard on the perimeter. And so you have 2 choices. You either match them or you opposite them. And we just chose to opposite them because Alyssa that matchup didn't worry me. Letting Alyssa play the 5, no problem. And then we had the advantage in the 1 through 4 spot, given that they had to then play with a lot of space, which lets us, I thought we got good looks. We were just really rusty in them in the second quarter. But, we also, if you had told me that she'd be the 5 going into this game, I wouldn't have believed you. But that's what the game called for.
James Moore, the Fayetteville Observer. Coach, this is the most wins you have had in a season in your era here in Tar Heel country. What does that mean for you, and how are you setting your legacy and solidifying that right now?
Yeah, I don't even know how many it is. It's a lot. How many wins is it? It's a lot, which is good. Yeah, it's a lot. It takes a lot. It just takes a lot. Each win is what's the hard part about coaching is if you attach yourself to the wins and losses, you're going to miss the whole journey. So no one's in this seat unless they're uber competitive. That's part of our elite skill, is that we're super competitive if you're sitting in these seats. But if the wins and losses, if I know my win and loss record to a T, then I'm missing the journey, right? And so certainly when you're following Coach Hatchell, you're not talking about legacy. You don't come to North Carolina to build your own legacy if you're coming to a place whose coach is in the stands, and their banners up, right? But I thought this was a place that I could get kids that fit the way that I want to play, and that I could coach some of the very best players in the country from a skill set standpoint and athletic standpoint, and without any sort of handcuffs. Right, and so I've been able to do that. I've been able to get the kids that I've wanted to coach. I've gotten them to be able to play the way we want to play, and that's gotten us a lot of wins this year, and it got us a lot of wins in years past as well. So I was brought here to do a job. I promised our athletic director I'd give him my very best, and we've been doing that kind of day in, day out. That's probably my legacy.
RL, reminder.
Who was the message?
RL, remember to name yourself.
Ariel Bynum, Tar Heel Tribune.
Yep.
At halftime, you're only up by 2.
Yeah.
You knew that you were going to unleash the press, but you didn't know that Lexi was going to make 5 3-pointers. Were you comfortable at halftime? What was the mood at halftime?
It's kind of been the way this first round's gone for teams with 2 weeks off. I mean, you saw the state score, you saw you can go right on down the line. I don't even know who ended up winning some of those games because they were all close through the first half. So we haven't played in 2 weeks. We've obviously been practicing, but there is an element of a rhythm that gets a little bit disrupted from that when you're going game, and then all of a sudden I'll stop. And so I was not happy and I wasn't comfortable, but I also sort of got it. So we didn't have to make a ton of changes. I felt like we needed to be more shot willing quicker. I thought we had settled into the game in terms of how they were guarding things so that we could go to some different stuff now that we kind of saw how they guarded. But I thought we were a little tentative, like we were settling a little bit in the first half, being a little out of rhythm. And I wanted us to, finish through chess. I wanted us to win the paint and play off two for self or others. So we were just more aggressive. And the ball went in the basket, which I've always said makes you a good coach. But it was a quicker release. She wasn't as sort of what does the team need, and more as a finisher, which is what she's better at.
Jordan played most minutes since, I think, late November. I mean, why was this the time for her to get so many minutes? And she had a nice drive. She had some decent play.
Yeah, she can play. It's no one watches more film than me and my coaching staff, right? And so we've had a lot of competitive practices since our last game. And so there's just a constant state of evaluation, right? And so when I talk about the journey, it's kind of what I mean. It's so, I know, I've been watching all 14 of these kids every day, right? And the fans and the media don't get to see them very much. So it looks like she came out of nowhere, right? We've been able to assess her play minute to minute through every practice all year, and her trajectory has continued to rise. She's continued to add some skill. She's continued to understand pace and tempo. And so, I thought she gave us meaningful minutes. I mean, she played 11 minutes. That's good for her. We counted on her and we needed her, and she was there for us. She delivered.
Anything else for Coach? Thank you, Coach Banghart.
Go Heels, you got it. Thank you.